Have you ever wondered why, in an age where every move of the royal family is tracked by satellites and high-speed cameras, two of the most important children in the British line of succession are essentially invisible? It's a question that's no longer just being asked by internet theorists. It's being whispered in the hallways of Buckingham Palace and debated by constitutional experts. Something major is stirring behind those heavy stone walls. And this time, the usual never complain, never explain mantra isn't going to be enough. For the first time in centuries, the legitimacy of the crown's future is being tied to a series of documents, medical reports, and missing signatures that just don't seem to add up. Lady C has recently stepped forward with claims of an active investigation into the births of Archie and Lyle, and the reaction from Meghan and Harry has been nothing short of explosive. But what exactly has been uncovered? And why is the timing of this investigation causing such a panic in Montecito? The mystery starts with a detail so small, most people wouldn't even notice it. Yet, it's the exact kind of smoking gun that investigators look for. It all comes down to a single number on a birth certificate. In the United States, birth registration follows a very specific coding system managed by the CDC and individual state vital statistics offices. On Princess Elizabeth's public birth record, there is a geographic area code used to identify the location of the birth. For the state of California, where the Sussexes claim Lilibet was born, that code is 104. However, analysts who have scrutinized the documents pointed out a glaring inconsistency. Lilibet's document apparently features the code 105. Here's why that matters. In the federal coding system, 105 doesn't belong to California, it belongs to Colorado. This mismatch has sent the royal commentary world into a frenzy. If the birth took place at Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, as the official narrative states, how did a Colorado code end up on a California document? Some suggest it's a simple administrative error, but others believe it points to something far more calculated. Rumors have long swirled that the Sussexes may have used a surrogate, a practice that is perfectly legal in the US, but has massive earth-shattering implications for the British monarchy. If a child is born via surrogate in a different state and then registered in California, the paperwork trail often becomes a tangled web of amended certificates. Could the 105 code be the accidental fingerprint of a process the public was never meant to see? When you're seventh in line to the throne, a clerical error isn't just a mistake. It's a potential constitutional disqualification. But the paper trail, or the lack of one, goes far deeper than a 3-digit code. To understand why this is such a big deal, you have to look at the yellow folder protocol. For over a century, every royal birth has followed a strict, almost religious tradition. When a royal baby is born, a signed bulletin is placed on an ornate easel outside Buckingham Palace for the world to see. This isn't just for show. That bulletin is signed by the men in midwifery, the Queen's or King's personal physicians who were present or verified the birth immediately. We saw it for Prince William. We saw it for Prince Harry. And we saw it for all 3 of William's children. It is the ultimate proof that the child is born of the body, a legal requirement for the line of succession that dates back to the 1700s. Yet, when Archie was born in 2019, the easel was famously empty of signatures. The bulletin was posted, but the names of the doctors were missing. The palace blamed the speed of the announcement, but critics weren't buying it. When Liet was born 2 years later in America, the protocol was abandoned entirely. There was no bulletin, no signatures, and no verification by the royal medical household. This breach of tradition has created a massive legal vacuum. Without the verification of the crown's own doctors, the public is essentially being asked to take their word for it. But in a family where trust has been shattered by memoirs and Netflix documentaries, taking their word for it is a high price to pay. The absence of those signatures is the foundation upon which every other rumor is built. The plot thickens when you look at the people who were supposedly in the room. In Santa Barbara, the medical professional tied to Lilibet's birth was Dr. Melissa Drake. She was a well-respected OB/GYN with a thriving practice. But shortly after the news of Lilibet's birth broke, something strange happened. Dr. Drake reportedly closed her practice without warning and essentially disappeared from public life. While some say she simply chose to retire or move for personal reasons, the timing has raised 1,000 eyebrows. In the world of royal investigations, there are no coincidences. Why would the doctor who delivered a British princess suddenly walk away from her career? Critics of the Sussexes suggest that she may have been bound by an incredibly strict non-disclosure agreement. Or perhaps she didn't want to be the face of a birth narrative that she couldn't fully support. This vanishing witness trope has added another layer of mystery to the story. If everything was straightforward, wouldn't the doctor be proud to have her name associated with such a historic event? Instead, we have silence, and in the vacuum of that silence, the rumors of surrogacy and legal maneuvering have only grown louder. This isn't just about a doctor. It's about the integrity of the medical record that secures a child's place in history. If you think this sounds like a modern conspiracy theory, you haven't read your history books. This isn't the first time the British monarchy has faced a birth legitimacy crisis. Back in 1688, we had the warming pan scandal. When James II's wife, Mary of Modena, gave birth to a son, rumors spread that the baby had actually died and a random infant had been smuggled into the birthing room in a warming pan. The public was so suspicious that they demanded witnesses be present for every future royal birth. This is literally why the Home Secretary used to have to be in the room to ensure no switching happened. While we've moved past the Home Secretary standing by the bed, the born of the body requirement remains the law of the land. The 1701 Act of Settlement is very clear. The succession is limited to the heirs of the body. Legal experts have pointed out that even if Archie and Lilibet are the biological children of Harry and Meghan, if they were carried by a surrogate, they are technically ineligible for the throne under current UK law. Parliament would have to pass a specific act to change the rules for them. This is the nuclear option that Lady C and other insiders are hinting at. If an investigation proves that a surrogate was used, the king wouldn't even have to remove them. They would be legally disqualified by default. The historical ghosts of 1688 are suddenly feeling very modern. Then there's the issue of what we actually see. High-retention content thrives on visuals, but when it comes to the Sussex children, the visuals are a source of constant frustration for the public. We've all seen the photos grainy black and white or shot from behind. But when we do get a clear shot, the internet's digital forensics team goes to work. There have been numerous claims that the few photos released of Archie and Lily have been digitally altered. From changing hair colors going from sandy blonde to bright red in a matter of months to height inconsistencies that don't match the reported age of the children. Some critics have pointed to the 2021 Christmas card where Lilibet appeared much smaller than a child of her age should be, or the famous frolicking in the grass photo from her first birthday, which some AI experts claim shows signs of compositing, meaning the child might have been edited into the background. While the Sussex squad argues that this is just a mother's desire for privacy and aesthetic filters, it fuels the fire of those who believe we aren't seeing the real children. Why the secrecy? Why the Photoshop? If you want to stop the rumors, the easiest way is to step out in front of a camera and let the world see the family as they are. The continued use of artistic photography only serves to make the children feel like digital ghosts haunting the line of succession rather than occupying it. Perhaps the most damaging evidence against the official narrative comes from Harry himself. In his memoir Spare, Harry recounts the birth of Archie with a level of detail that was meant to feel intimate. But to many it felt off. He claims that they arrived at the hospital Meghan gave birth and they were back home in Windsor just 2 hours later. On paper, this sounds like a super mom story. In reality, it's a logistical nightmare. The hospital they used, Portland Hospital in London, is at least an hour's drive from Cottage on a good day. If you factor in the time for the birth, the standard medical observation period after an epidural, and the paperwork, a 2-hour turnaround is almost physically impossible. Even more bizarre was Harry's description of using gas and air during the birth. He claims he used so much of the laughing gas that the nurse had to bring in a fresh tank, and they even ate Nando's chicken in the delivery room. Critics have pointed out that this sounds more like a scene from a Hollywood comedy than a royal birth at a high-end London hospital. These inconsistencies, in Harry's own words, have led many to believe that the stories in Spare were strategically written to create a specific image, but they didn't account for the fact that people would actually check the math. If the details of the birth are being fictionalized in a memoir, it raises the question, what else is being embellished? This brings us to the current tension between Harry and Meghan, which many believe is reaching a breaking point in 2026. According to insiders, the couple is in a brand war over their children's future. Harry is reportedly terrified of the death zone that is social media and global fame. Having lost his mother in such a public and tragic way, He wants Archie and Lily to be entirely shielded, living as normal kids in California. He doesn't want them to be public figures until they are old enough to choose it for themselves. Meghan, on the other hand, is a businesswoman. With the launch of American Riviera Orchard and her various media projects, she reportedly sees the children as a vital part of the Sussex brand. She wants them to have the same prince and princess exposure that William and Catherine's children receive. She believes that by keeping them hidden, they are losing their market value and their connection to the public. This fundamental disagreement, privacy versus profit, is said to be causing massive arguments behind the scenes. Harry wants a shield. Meghan wants a spotlight. And as the children get older, this conflict is only going to get louder. Are Archie and Lilibet children, or are they content? The answer to that question might determine whether the Sussex marriage survives the next few years. While the Sussexes battle it out in Montecito, the palace is far from idle. King Charles is in a delicate position. He wants to be a loving grandfather, but he is also the CEO of a 1,000-year-old institution. Recent reports suggest that Prince William is pushing for a much harder line. As the future King William is reportedly furious that the line of succession, the very thing he will one day head, is being clouded by these unanswered questions. He doesn't want his children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, to grow up in a system where the rules only apply to some. There is talk of a cleanup operation. This could involve a quiet request for the Sussex to provide verified DNA or medical records to a private royal committee. If they refuse, the Removal of Titles Act that has been floating around Parliament could suddenly gain a lot of momentum. Charles is a man who prefers to avoid conflict. But with his health being a constant concern, he knows he needs to settle the Sussex problem before he passes the crown to William. The king's silence isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of a man weighing his options. When the move finally comes, it will likely be swift, legal, and final. While the debate over birth certificates rages on, a new and perhaps even more complicated legal battle is brewing on the other side of the Atlantic. It's the paradox of the American prince. We are currently witnessing something unprecedented in history. Two children, Archie and Lilibet, holding high-ranking British royal titles while being raised in a republic that fought a bloody revolution specifically to abolish those titles. Critics in Washington are starting to ask a very pointed question. Can you truly be a prince of the United Kingdom while living as a private citizen in California? This isn't just a matter of social etiquette. It's a potential constitutional crisis for both nations. The U.S. Constitution is famously wary of foreign titles of nobility. Yet, the Sussexes have been accused of using these titles to influence American policy and political discourse. From open letters to Congress to high-profile media appearances, the Prince and Princess labels are being used in a way that some experts say makes a mockery of the U.S. system. It creates a false sense of elevated status that the public is expected to defer to, even though those titles hold no legal weight in America. If Archie and Lilibet are being groomed to use these titles as commercial assets in the U.S., the palace may find itself forced to step in to protect the crown from being dragged into American partisan politics. The friction is reaching a point where the U.S. government may eventually have to clarify the legal standing of foreign royals living and working on their soil. Behind the scenes in London, there's a group of people who likely already know the answers to every question we've raised today. They are often referred to as the men in gray, the senior courtiers and intelligence liaison who manage the logistics of the royal household. For years, there have been whispers that a secret dossier exists containing the full, unvarnished truth about the Sussexes' time in the UK and the circumstances surrounding their departure. This dossier is said to include everything from internal bullying investigations to the detailed medical records of the children's births. Why hasn't this information been made public? In the high-stakes game of royal chess, information is the ultimate leverage. As long as the palace holds these files, they have a powerful deterrent against any further nuclear attacks from Montecito. If Harry and Meghan were to release another tell-all book or documentary that crossed a final line, the Grey Suits could quietly leak the very documents that would dismantle the Sussex narrative. It's a cold, calculated standoff. The palace isn't staying quiet because they are afraid. They are staying quiet because they are waiting. They know that in the court of public opinion, the one who speaks last usually wins. By keeping the truth about the birth certificates and the medical witnesses in reserve, the monarchy ensures it always has the upper hand in a legal or PR fight. As we move further into 2026, the narrative around Harry and Meghan is shifting from united front to professional separation. We've seen a marked increase in Harry's solo engagements, particularly his trips back to the UK for charity events and legal proceedings. These trips are being viewed by many as a scouting mission for a potential solo return to the royal fold. Meanwhile, Meghan remains firmly planted in California, focusing on her lifestyle brand and American media projects. This decoupling has massive implications for the children. If Harry and Meghan are indeed moving in different directions, what happens to Archie and Lilibet? If Harry were to eventually move back to the UK to resume a limited role, the question of the children's residency becomes a firestorm. Would they stay in Montecito as American celebrities, or would they return to the UK to be educated as British royals? Some believe that Meghan would never allow the children to leave her side, as they are her most direct link to the royal institution and the global visibility it provides. However, if the rumors of a separation are true, the palace might see an opportunity to bring the heirs home, ensuring that the children are raised within the traditions and safeguards of the monarchy. This tug-of-war over the children's future is the hidden subtext of every move the Sussexes make today. At the heart of this entire saga is the concept of legacy. King Charles is acutely aware that he is a bridge king, a transitional figure between the long stable reign of his mother and the future reign of his son William. He doesn't want his chapter in history to be defined by a messy family feud or a scandal involving the legitimacy of his grandchildren. This is why he has been so hesitant to take the nuclear step of stripping titles. He still holds on to the hope of a reconciliation, or at the very least, a quiet resolution that doesn't damage the institution's dignity. But Prince William represents a different generation of royal leadership. He has seen the damage that half-truths and media wars have done to his family, and he is reportedly much less inclined to play the waiting game. William's focus is on the long-term survival of the crown, and he knows that a monarchy built on unanswered questions is a monarchy built on sand. For William, the Archie and Lilibet question isn't just a family matter, it's a security matter. He wants a clear, transparent line of succession so that his own children never have to face a challenge to their legitimacy. The tension between the king's desire for peace and William's demand for clarity is what will ultimately decide the fate of the Sussex children. We are approaching a turning point. The public's patience for privacy-first royal narratives is wearing thin. In a world where transparency is the new currency, the Sussexes' strategy of secrecy is starting to look more like a liability than a shield. Whether it's the mystery of the 105 Colorado Code, the missing medical signatures, or the shifting visual records of the children, the gaps in the story are becoming too large to ignore. The next 12 months will likely be the most critical in the history of the Sussex Palace divide. With legal cases reaching their conclusions and new media projects on the horizon, the truth, or at least a version of it, is bound to emerge. Whether that truth will be a shocking revelation that changes everything, or a quiet admission that settles the debate remains to be seen. But one thing is for certain. The world is watching, the palace is waiting, and the clock is ticking on the Sussex secrets. Now more than ever, the conversation needs your voice. Are we seeing the slow-motion collapse of a carefully constructed narrative? Or is this all just a massive misunderstanding? As we wait for the next move from Montecito or the next leak from the palace, the debate over the future of the crown continues to grow. Don't forget to share your thoughts. This is a story that belongs to all of us. Stay tuned because the biggest twist in this royal drama may be the one we never saw.